All right, Corinna, welcome to Empower Network TV. Very excited to be interviewing you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, let's talk about this whole notion of elders, not boulders. What do you mean by that? That's really fun.
What I mean with that is having a background in the rites of passage. I have become familiar that a lot of indigenous societies had elders. Sort of in the Industrial Revolution, we lost having elders. They worked, they retired. And the retirement, from my perspective, is you're put out to pasture. And then people get older. But an elder still has a contribution to the community, to their community and the world. They have connection to that young part within themselves. They're not just getting into their 70s and 80s and 90s and disengaged from the world more and more. Elders are really standing in the world, and due to their wisdom, can contribute to the world.
So you're creating this program to help elders.
Oldest to become elders.
And so what is your story? Where did you begin this journey on earth? What
if you want the short version of a long story, I was born and grew up in Germany, got married there. My then husband got a job offer here in the US that he was very happy about, and we ended up staying here. The 2 to 3 years are now 43 years. So I got interested in rites of passage, got an education in that, then added a master's in counseling to that. And when we had this whole when we had the experience with the pandemic, I realized, you have a level of knowledge that could really contribute to people with this transition we are in. And so I decided to start focusing on transition. And when I turned 70, I decided to own the fact that I'm an elder.
I decided to own the fact. Can you talk about the power of deciding to own anything about yourself? Can you just talk about that?
Yes, because once I own it, it's within me. Instead of saying, oh, you call me this, or I am doing that job. And how do you answer when I ask, who are you?
Say I'm Amos or Amos. Yeah.
And how much do we go with, I'm a man, a woman, wife, husband, father, mother, I have that kind of job. It's all data points that we usually put out. But what if there is more to you? And I learned about an energetic definition that comes from your gut, from your pelvis. And how does that sound to you? I'm the water that nourishes the ability to see beyond the current world to a beautifully connected world and washes away anything that stands in the way.
That's brilliant.
That is my definition of myself now. And that is where I started owning.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this? When we say our name, because there's a lot in a name.
Mm-hmm.
When you say when I say I'm Amos, I'm saying I'm carried by God. And I've lived that as well. So, but you're talking about creating this, it's almost like this intentionally, because our parents gave us our names typically. but you're
Mhm.
talking about giving yourself, it's like your calling card, your business card, your
Yeah.
unique identifier in the planet. What made you start to think of this?
It was actually, I did an online course with Dr. Zach Bush called Journey of Intrinsic Health. And the funny thing was, the first module was called Be, where he talked about that. And that's where I got introduced. And being who I am, it was just, whoa, this is powerful. I need to stay with it and find that for myself. And in the coaching group that I was part of, I was the only one who did that. But then I'm crazy.
Yeah, but the best ones in life always are at least a little crazy.
Yeah.
So have you always been a dreamer?
Yeah.
When you were a girl, were you a dreamer at 5 and 7?
Yeah. I tended to disappear into books, and there was a beautiful world that I created, and it just felt comfortable. And I'm still what I still call myself, I'm a visionary and a futurist. And with futurist doesn't mean I can predict a future, but that I can see possibilities of where we end up if we continue down that road.
Did you continue on the road you thought you would continue on in your 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s? Did it?
I have my first life and then my second life, and I think I'm starting my third life. My first life was becoming a math teacher because I was good in math, and this was priced real estate, so to speak. And my second life, it was, working as a rite of passage guide, life coach, but I still was coming from the head. Once I learned to drop into my body more and perceive energies, that's sort of what I would call my third life that I'm now stepping in or have stepped into.
So what is that doing for you? Perceiving energies and all that? Like what is that resulting in your life? What is the result now in your life?
Part of it, if you talk to God, is God actually talking back to you, or are you perceiving some energies that you translate into words?
Excellent question. The Sunday school answer is God talks to me, but I don't know if I don't actually know what it is. I just know I receive back. So what am I receiving back?
Yeah, but that is perceiving an energy. And for me, what it allowed me initially is getting, and I had that looking back even as a kid, but I'm able to perceive if somebody is telling me the truth. If I want to, for me, I'm guided by this new understanding of myself and look for where am I energetically congruent. And that creates a center within myself that gives me incredible stability where I'm not tossed around by what's going on in the outside world.
Oh, I love what you're saying. Because I spent my life getting tossed around. I'll bet a lot of people in this group are still somewhat getting tossed around. What is the secret sauce to figuring that out when someone is currently tossed around right now? What do they actually start with? Where do they begin?
To start perceiving energies, and there is no energy is a mystery in a way, but talk to that energy, talk to your own higher self, let's call it that, and see what comes back. I mean, you can say you're channeling, and that is true too. I realized in the conversation that I have been channeling for years. When I journal and sort of put out a question and sit with that question, and as a sudden a thought pops in, da da da, that is an answer to the question that I was asking. That is also channeling, you know. But it's all, as I said, more on energetic perception that I translate into words.
That's
It
true.
makes me feel good.
What does?
No, whatever the answer is, whatever I'm choosing now to do, because I'm trying to be on target with my spiritual purpose. I mean, I'm here for more than just being a coach. What if I have a bigger purpose? And are we willing? And that is the trick where I stumbled a long time. Are we willing to be as big as we truly are?
Oh, I love that. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Marianne Williamson said, we are more afraid of the light than the darkness, which is just another way of being willing to be big, being the light.
I know before I was willing to take risks, the fear I most felt was, what if I fail? But the more I grew, the more I saw that was a facade. It was actually keeping me away from having to look at, do I actually, like, what if I actually succeed? What if we're far more capable? What does that mean about all my relationships I've formed, all my habits? I have to actually face myself in the mirror. If I see that I am a giant and I've been living as a mouse.
I like your analogy. And I'm so familiar with that. I've been there. I've done that too. And it's just in the last few years that I could no longer hide. I called myself the best kept secret because I was hiding so much.
What changed it for you? Why did you change?
I'm not sure what to call it. There was just something inside of me that had years ago started to recognize that I'm hiding. And that just was no longer willing to go there. There was this, you need to step out. And maybe it was a contribution that other people invited me. It was a contribution to come up with that new self-definition. All of these things, step by step, helped. And I don't think we hide and then tomorrow I'm stepping out and I'm on the stage. It's not how it works. We slowly step out onto the stage. And when I gave the end of last year, my TEDx talk, which sadly is not yet pulled up, it was sort of like, oh shit, I'm hearing myself with the microphone from a stage. That was a totally new experience of stepping out.
So 2024, how are you stepping out now, Corinna? What are you doing?
Creating that program, and then really going out, starting more locally, but then trying to go nationally to do presentations and invite people in, let's say, senior communities is probably an appropriate name, because they are age 55 usually, or invite people age 50 and over to explore that road. And I even, that's where intuition also comes in. This weekend I was sitting, so what do I call a talk on that, the presentation? And the thought came, sites, along the road to elderhood. That way I can focus on who are you, what's your purpose, all kinds of different subjects underneath that, things that you, if you want to become an elder, need to sit with. And with what's going on right now, I'm also realizing that elders, due to the wisdom and life experience that they have, and therefore the ability to look from a different perspective, may well be the ones who are leading the way into this new world that we are moving into. Because the transition is not just in the US, it's a global collective transition.
Well, I really appreciate your thoughts, Corinna, you've been sharing. Yeah, that whole thing we were taught as kids, after you're whatever, 60, go and take it easy, sit around, play cards, and you're still putting foot to ass to go and make something happen. That's respectable.
And that's where the difference between older and elder comes in. An elder is still engaged. If you just go on cruises and travel and it's fun and it's something enjoyable and there's nothing wrong with that, but how much are you still engaged with your community and contributing?
And you have all these life lessons that if you don't share them, at very least, we can't be inspired by them. At very least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have links?
And then think about, sorry.
Go ahead.
Think about the fact that as an older person, you are a grandparent. How much are you influencing another generation with sharing your story, your legacy?
Like the rise of the elders. I love it. There needs to be a whole movie series about this, I'm not sure why there hasn't been, but how much richer we'd be if there'd be intentional, more media created around this, crafting and honing and gathering these stories. Because when we go for wisdom, we don't go to 19-year-olds. We know inherently, go and ask those that have been in the battle for 50 to 70 years. They've been in the battle. They're not new to the field.
Yeah. And I realized that, to some extent it was due that my grandmother was still in Germany and I was here in the US, but I realized I wish I would have been able to record some of the conversations that we had, some of her experiences.
Do you have links for anything you got you can put in the comments after I tag you, Corinna?
Yes, I have a website that I'm totally redoing.
Yep.
But yeah, and I have a podcast and all kinds of.
I love it. What's the name of your podcast?
Guess what? Toward a New World.
Beautiful. How many episodes are you in?
I started in January season 2. I started podcasting beginning March last year. And I think I'm in the upper 40s.
Amazing. You have a podcast. Why not? Why shouldn't you have a podcast? This is amazing. Thank you, Corinna.
Inviting people to look at things from a different perspective.
I appreciate you being in Empower Network TV. And any last thoughts for the audience before we wrap it up?
You can find me. I'm primarily on Facebook and on LinkedIn, although they have slightly different target audience. LinkedIn is more the professional aspect, and Facebook is more the personal business kind of what I'm sharing, But I'm so appreciative for being able to be on Empower Network TV.
Thank you for being here. You are exactly why this group exists, is to tell your inspirational story, to give others light and prove that it can always be done. It's just a choice. It's just decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Corinna. I'll be tagging you in this interview. And if you've been watching Empower Network TV today, reach out to Corinna, tell her what you appreciate about this interview, and she'd like to connect with you. Thanks.
And I would love to hear what touched you or didn't touch you. Either way.
Either
Thank
way.
you.
All right, we'll end
Yeah.
it here.
Bye-bye.